Welcome back to the program. You're watching Primetime Morning. We are about 10 minutes away now from the second debate between U.S. presidential candidates Barack Obama and John McCain.
Both met in their first debate about 10 days ago. The result was even, with no candidate drawing blood.
Well, today's debate will be set up like a town hall meeting with an audience of mainly uncommitted voters, so it's going to be a little tricky for the candidates. Now, both men will take questions from the moderator, Tom Brokaw of NBC News, and they will also answer questions from the audience and online participants.
To give us a better idea of what to expect, we have with us in studio this morning Dr. John Harrison, Assistant Professor from the S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies, and Jim Thomas, expert negotiator and author of the book Negotiate to Win. Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
So first up, just a sense from both of you, a recap of what you saw in the first round and your expectations. Jim.
Well, in the first round, I think it's a debate as to who actually won. I believe that the results were split about 60-40 in favor of Obama. However, now it's a week and a half later, and in that intervening week, the economy has taken an absolute worldwide nosedive. So the stakes are very different now. And to use an expression that John McCain, I think, would appreciate, he's running out of runway. He now has less than a month. So he has to hit a home run in this debate.
So a game changer is what he needs, and that has been mentioned many times in the news. What about Obama? Will he need a game changer as well?
No, Obama right now is, since the momentum seems to be in his favor, all he really needs to do is, to use an American sports analogy again, would be to play what the U.S. football teams call the prevent defense. All he has to do is come out with not making any mistakes, seeming to remain credible, and the momentum remains in his favor. As I said, McCain has about a month to be able to close the gap, and usually political analysts say you get about a point a week you can count on. To make up the seeming gap at the moment, Senator McCain would need about 1.5 points a week. It's doable, but it's becoming much, much more difficult.
But some are saying it's probably tougher for Obama because expectations are a bit higher. I mean, when we look at the VP debates, they were saying, well, expectations for Palin were so low that she couldn't do wrong. In this case, I mean, I guess for Obama, people are thinking, well, he's got to say something. I mean, and to sort of not say anything may not be good enough. What do you guys think?
Well, the problem is the format is this town hall format where you have 100 supposedly uncommitted voters. And these town hall formats don't favor an aggressive attack, which is the only thing really that McCain can do at this point to try to turn things around. So, in fact, if he does that tonight, I think you might even hear some vocalization from the audience.
So how does he balance this tricky act? Because he has gone on the offensive for the past few days, and we've seen that in Palin's words as well as the campaign ads.
Correct. What I think he needs to do is, normally this format would seem to favor Senator Obama, but I think it actually plays well for both. And what Senator McCain needs, however, is not to talk the talking points that he has, but really to seem as if he can connect with the average voter in that room. He can. I think he plays well in those audiences, but it doesn't seem to always come across, and that's where he really needs to go.
Well, let's talk a bit about the audience, actually, because that's interesting. We're saying they're uncommitted voters. I mean, how are these people picked? Do we know, will Obama and McCain have an idea as to where these people are coming from? Can they sort of preempt that and you know, gear themselves up for that?
Well, they're Nashville voters. They're from Tennessee, and they're supposedly picked by the Gallup organization for neutrality. And in the general population in the United States right now, allegedly, 2 out of 10 voters have not firmly decided. So there's a 20% of the electorate is supposedly movable.
Yeah, and that's very typical. About a quarter of the electorate doesn't make up its mind for the last week. 10% of voters don't make up their mind until they go into the ballot box.
We're talking about real folks here with real issues who are attending this debate. So you're going to expect a lot of issues that are really personalized or, you know, close to their heart.
Correct.
That means these candidates will have to make that connection. Who has an advantage here?
Please.
Well, the problem right now is in the election between Bill Clinton and the first George Bush, Clinton's campaign advisor James Carville said there's one thing that's important, and he said it's the economy's stupid. TES, in fact, became a very, very well-known phrase in American politics. Tonight, it is the economy. The economy again.
Right. And what he will have to do, and this why somewhat favors Senator Obama, is people will be essentially asking, what can you as the president do for me? And that tends to favor Democrats because they tend to be seen as people who will be doing this. So Senator McCain has to remain sort of off the talking points and connect with, this is how I see the government playing a role for you, the average voter.
All right, so we're going to take it right down to the six-pack Joe, as they call it. I mean, you know, right down to the man on the street and say, I'm going to talk about this example of how you can take care, you can put food on your table. I mean, these are the kind of levels we're going to, right?
Correct.
Will that address then the bigger issues? Because, I mean, what if someone might come in, throw a curveball and say, what about the rest of the economy? How are you going to, you know, what's the $700 billion bank bailout plan? How's it going to work? What are we going to do?
Yeah, it's possible that somebody would, but I think it's more likely that that an uncommitted voter at this point is really thinking bread and butter issues. My pocketbook. What does this bailout do for me? The number just is incomprehensible for most people.
Right.
And bailing out a Wall Street firm, there's a big divide between Wall Street and Main Street. How does this help me? Is what each candidate is going to have to be able to do.
So things like foreign policy, not even going to be in.
I doubt that it's on the mind of many of the people in the audience tonight.
Right.
But who do you think is the real underdog here? There's been people saying that John McCain has, you know, hundreds of chances to have an experience in town hall meetings and settings, and he knows the right tone to talk to the people. Whereas Obama here has all the polls favoring him. So who's the real underdog in your opinion?
I think it's Senator McCain. While this format and debates have not been a particular strength for Senator Obama, he doesn't have to perform anything really tonight. He just doesn't. He has to not lose. Senator McCain has to start making up a poll gap, and he has to do it. He has to start tonight.
And sadly, this forum is not necessarily the best one for him to do that.
Do you think then their personal characters are going to, play a strong part? I guess we know McCain's not the, you know, your first impression, he's not the friendliest of guys. Just you know, by nature, the way he looks. I mean, Obama has been seen to be more charismatic. I mean, again, connecting with the people this evening, who do you think is going to do that better?
A number of my friends from the States have told me that it is possible that John McCain could actually lose his temper tonight, depending on the questions that he receives from the audience.
He does have that reputation, but one of the interesting things is that it may play differently from the room to television. McCain in person, I've had the opportunity to meet him once or twice, is very charismatic. So the people in the room may be picking that up. Whether that necessarily translates on television, which is unfortunate for Senator McCain, that may not come across. But if the mood in the room is favoring McCain, that might translate into making him more comfortable.
But do you think he has the ability or the capability to turn the tide in this debate number 2?
Unlikely unless there's a meltdown on either side. I think it's going to probably, again, be a draw. At the very least, Senator McCain needs to start blunting the momentum that Senator Obama has. And if he can do that, that's probably good enough.
I think unless Barack Obama throws up on Tom Brokaw, it's going to be a win for Obama.
Pretty extreme, man. What about between the two men? I mean, are they going to play off each other, or are they going to keep it quite separate and say, I'm just going to speak to the people out there, you know?
I think will probably ignore each other because the people in the room are not what's important. The moderator is not important. It's the American public. It's probably it will be one of the last times, with the exception of the next debate, it will be one of the last 2 times that each candidate will basically have an unfiltered access to the media, and rightfully or wrongfully so, the impression that the American public has is that the media has been incredibly favorable to Senator Obama. So this is really McCain's big opportunity to be able to at least blunt, if not change the momentum.
Well, looking at the positions they're in and also observing their debating and speaking styles of late, Jim, what's your advice to each candidate, if you have any, that they can improve when it comes to the performance on stage?
Well, John McCain has been advised, I think, by virtually everybody in his campaign staff to take the gloves off. I mean, you've heard this even from Ms. Palin.
Right.
So that certainly is good advice. However, in this format where he's in a very sort of collegial, friendly kind of an environment, to be very aggressive would be taken very badly by the audience. So he has to walk a very fine line between being as tough as he can be without upsetting the audience. I think Barack Obama just basically has to keep his game on track and not make any major mistakes.
And I think for Senator Obama, the biggest problem is he doesn't do well in these forums because he is very much about the grand rhetoric. And that's been his great difficulty, is connecting with the average voter. Right. And I think even though the polls are with him now, to close the deal, as they've been saying throughout the campaign, he needs to take that rhetoric down to a level where the average voter will see that you understand this and not just the flowery vision.
Right. His body language sometimes might come off looking a little aloof, I think, and not making that personal connection with voters.
I mean, you could almost say that about their running mates as well, with Joe Biden, Sarah Palin. I mean, you know, Palin was a bit more down on the ground. The example she used, of course, were, you know, whereas Biden's been there, done that, been the center for umpteen years. So again, how do you think has that had any effect on what people are going in tonight with the expectations, having watched the VP debates? Do they go in thinking, well, I expect more of the same from the Obama camp, and likewise with McCain?
I think the polling following that debate showed no bounce for either candidate. Basically, it was a wash.
Yeah. Vice President's, the picks, Governor Palin was an exception to this. Vice Presidents, generally the first rule is just like doctors, do no harm.
Right.
And Governor Palin gave an enormous bounce to both Senator McCain and the Republican Party in general. That hasn't diminished. What has helped is that his base is starting to come back again after a couple of rough weeks. And that may be enough to at least close the gap and get the momentum change.
I think we'll have a clearer idea when we see that debate kick off very soon. Thank you both. We're going to talk to you very soon as well after we watch that debate. We've been speaking to our guest Jim Thomas and also Dr. John Harrison. What to expect in the debate? That's going to start in, I think, a couple of minutes.
That's right, and they'll both join us again later after the debate.